Welcome one, welcome all to episode 179 of the Xbox Expansion Pass, recorded on Saturday, May 27th, 2023. I am your host, Luke Lohr, the InsipidGhost, joined by my co-host, the intrepid Captain Logun. And in this episode, we examine how the PlayStation Showcase announcements have impacted Xbox gamers and ask what the Xbox Showcase coming this summer needs to do in its own presentation. A lot to break down there. As always, we hope you enjoy the show. Logan, we like to start the show by offering words of kindness to those who have made our gaming weeks better. But first, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I can't complain, man. School's out. I've got work days, but students are done. It was a successful end of the year. Just finished Ghostwire Tokyo this morning. Had a good time with that. I'm riding high right now. I'm appreciative and happy.
Nice. That's awesome, man. God, you're getting right into it.
Yeah.
It's been a really it's been a very interesting week, and I want to get into it in the proper show, but I'm really glad that we got to. I'm just really glad that we had this week. Honestly, there was a lot of really interesting stuff that I wasn't expecting, and I think that there was a lot of emotions running high for a lot of folks. And I think I saw a lot of Xbox people being like, "Oh my God, I have a PlayStation friend somewhere. Where are they?"
Mm-hmm. Yep. It was a week of announcements that impacted the gaming verse, like in total, which was cool. There were, and like whether it was hardware, whether it was cloud, whether it was third-party games, first-party games, there was something hitting on each one, largely due to Sony, but you know, there was more than that. It was nice. It was good.
Yeah,
and I got a lot to say.
Yeah, definitely. A lot I want to talk about. A lot of stuff that I'm excited for. The just really good stuff. Definitely some feelings on the news that came out this week. But we should, before we get into that, we have to talk about like what were your who brought you joy in gaming this week?
Absolutely. I want to give a shout out to Adam Leonard over at the Megadads.
Nice.
He took over Megadads, I think a year or two ago, editor-in-chief there. He and John I followed for a long time. John's doing his own thing now in Midlife Side Quest, which is cool. But Adam brought myself, Neo Prime 33, and Mr. Badbit on for like a predictions episode. So you had Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox represented. And, you know, apart from some inappropriate hilarity, it was just a good time laughing with friends, talking about video games. And you know, our thing on XEP is not to actually dump on the other guy. That's not a thing for us. We don't enjoy that. And you know, outside of tongue-in-cheek fun, neither does Mr. Babbitt, neither does Tim Olf, and neither does Adam. And so we just had a good time chatting games, and I laughed nonstop. So that was my feel good. So shout out to Adam for putting that together, and Tim, and reluctantly Mr. Babbitt. It was just a good time.
So, that's cool. I love those Voltron shows, man. When you get everyone together and you just sit down, and that's what I liked about Cast Co-op so much. Is it really was kind of like, well, you and Ains are kind of like Xbox primarily, but Ains is pretty neutral. But I love listening to your guys' rapport, because you guys are hilarious and stuff, and it's just like bringing people in for good conversation and experts in their field.
Big time. And we still do Cast Co-op. It's just been sporadic because of our schedules. Like, and we've had a lot of periphery things. Like Ains had something going on week. Then I had something unexpected I needed to fill in for somebody at work. Like just little things. And that's our show that we do just for fun. So like no set, like we try to do it every other week, but no set schedule, never a stress point, always for fun. So But what about you, man? How about your words of kindness? What you got?
Dude, you know what kind of surprised me this weekend? I don't know that we're going to dive in too much, because I don't know if there's really a whole lot to really dive into. So I guess I'll take the moment to kind of call out the Lord of the Rings Gollum game came out, and it's probably like one of the worst reviewed games. But Danny Carlone over on Twitter made a really interesting post that stuck out to me. And his tweet says basically, games are hard to make. Regardless of the score, every project has positives / lessons learned. I displayed my lowest score game because I'm proud of the time I had working with some of my favorite people in this industry. Some things are out of your hands. Be kind to each other. And he posted 2 images. One was of the Metacritic for the Wii U version of Sonic Boom, which was scored 32, even lower than Gollum. And then he had the other picture of the games that he's worked on. And he's worked on Sonic Boom. He's worked on Avengers. He's worked on 2 Tomb Raider games, one on PlayStation, one on Xbox that he has up there. He's worked on a PS3 God of War and God of War Ragnarok. So the dude has definitely been around the bend on both sides of the spectrum.
Absolutely.
And it just reminded me, it was like, yeah, you know, it's a bummer that Gollum didn't come out the way I think that the developers wanted to do it. I'm bummed that they put out an apology, because I think regardless of the apology, I think I would have rather have had a delay.jpg like we got with what was it, The Last of Us Factions this week. I would have much rather have had one of those and held off on Gollum. But at the same time, I got to recognize, like, Warner Brothers Studios and marketing, they're probably pushing to get this game out. They don't care the real state of it. Like, they may not have justified, like it may have been one of those Phil Spencer calls, like, is it crashing within reasonable margins? And did you realize the creativity of the game? And if those those questions are yes, then ship it. And it's like nothing you can do at that point.
That's the kicker there with Gollum. I saw a really good thread that was out there. I don't know who to credit for this one, unfortunately, but it was like, stop apologizing for your game. And it was a really thoughtful thread. So I don't want to paint a picture that it wasn't. It was a wonderful thread, and I agree with it. Companies should no longer be saying, hey, we're sorry we didn't deliver on our vision. No, when you go to watch a UFC fight, when you go to a movie, when you go to dinner and a chef is creating for you, the movie might be the food might not have hit where you wanted to, the comedian might have missed their mark, the team might have failed, but you go for the experience. You go on the potential that it could be something, and games is not that. They don't do that, and I don't enjoy the apology .jpg. Our game didn't hit the creative. No, art is hard, and if somebody is choosing to spend money, fine. And one of the things that the thread was really eloquently saying is, you can ask for your money back, but you don't. And a consumer can do that and should do that actively. And a lot of systems exist for them to do that, but the developer should not be apologizing for it, and gamers should not be entitled to an apology if it misses the mark. No, you went to dinner, you ordered dinner, you can ask for your money back if the food is not satisfactory, but the apology.jpg thread, it just doesn't make sense. You had a creative vision, you missed it, you got it, you shipped it, it's there. You make good games, bad games, just like the gentleman you mentioned a moment ago. Ragnarok, Sonic Boom. And guarantee you, there are people that enjoy and dislike both of those. You know, my entire thing is find the fun, and I do, man. I really do look for the fun in everything. And if I don't have fun, I move on. But attacking and going after people or demanding an apology, I think, is an entitlement that I wish people would kind of get away from. And again, it is far more eloquently stated, but I appreciated the sentiment in that. Because it's just, I know Ryan McCaffrey retweeted it. I'll have to look while you're chatting, but it was just wonderful, because I don't think we should demand an apology.
No, demand a refund. Don't demand an apology. Demand a refund. And companies need to be more open to digital refunds. Like and Steam does a decent job of this. 2 weeks and 2 hours. If you have it within 2 weeks and you've only played less than 2 hours, then you can get a full refund generally to your account. Like, they'll just refund you the money. And if you're it's a digital store, so if you're in the ecosystem, you're probably going to spend money on another game. Other companies need to really kind of step up on this. No, they are. And I think the problem lies more with Nintendo. I think Nintendo's the toughest to try and get a refund for. Sony's so-so. Sony's, you know, like, we've seen them be pretty good about that in some situations. I'm thinking like Cyberpunk 2077. But for the most part, I think companies really need to be a lot more generous when it comes to those types of things, especially with digital purchases. So demand a refund. Don't demand an apology. And I don't think it's anyone's right to say, like, you need to apologize for how bad this game is. It's like, no, they don't. Like, they worked on it.
Yeah, you chose to pay the money for that game.
Yeah.
You chose to get into the conversation.
Yeah.
You're not owed an apology. You are owed a good experience for your money, and if you don't get your money back, right?
Yeah.
But the personal element of the apology should be used sparingly, and I mean sparingly. There are times for the apology.jpg, but it should not be a mandate that anytime a game comes out 2 days after, sorry, we missed the mark. No, you had a vision, either you missed it or you got it, and then the gamers either missed it or they got it, and
Yeah.
that's just how it is. And I liked the thread. I will try and find that while you're chatting in a moment or two. But yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, one of the things that I've noticed is with games like Sonic Boom, with games like Golem, there are always going to be games that are lower as far as polish goes compared to other games, and it really does come down to who's directing the game, how much money do they have, and how much time do they have. Because if you spend forever on a game, then you can generally like it. Eventually, you'll get to the point where it'll actually be good. And it kind of goes back to the mentality that Shigeru Miyamoto had always said is like, if you have the money, if you have the time, you can push a game's release out and hope that you have the talent or the wherewithal to be able to get it to the state that you want it to be in. Right. Nothing is perfect, and you should never feel like you have to apologize for that. If it missed the mark, then you should be feeling, you already feel bad, like knowing that it's going out in the state that it is. I don't think any studio is unaware of the quality of the game that they're shipping. Like every studio has played their game. Every studio has spent months testing, tweaking, trying to get things to work, trying to cover it for different platforms and stuff like that. And if they don't get it, they're the first ones to know. And, and they know it's going to be bad. They know it's going to be reviewed bad. And they shouldn't have to apologize for that for the sake of keeping face on a social media platform. Like they're already bummed about it.
Exactly.
They're also probably happy that the game is done too.
Right.
Some studios just want to get past the game.
I thought so the thread was by Aaron Sanfilippo at Aorn Flipout on Twitter. Wonderful thread. And one of the things that I thought was interesting is like, this is Daedalic Entertainment coming out talking about Gollum, like the day of release. Hey, we're so sorry. Like, you put the game out, now you're saying you're sorry. Like, that's a bad look. And Daedalic is creating another Lord of the Rings game. The failure of Gollum will inform consumers on whether they should purchase or check out or be wary of the next project. But their personal element of an apology is, I think, in bad elements. And this is a more nuanced thing. And I think we're just gently touching on the topic, but it's you're not morally wronged when you pay for a game that doesn't live up to what you wanted. You are owed a refund in some cases, depending on how much you've put into it, right? But if you've not invested much beyond the money, you're not owed anything else, right? Like, I'm not owed an apology by DC over Snyder stuff or over Superman or whatnot. They are going to get my money or not, depending on my interest level of their projects. So, but it was a good thread. Aaron Sanfilippo, good thread. I liked it. And I mean, I had the chance to look at Gollum and I didn't. Just not for me. And I'm moving on. They don't owe me anything. I don't owe them anything. And so that's just how it goes. But yeah, good thing there. And I also like the idea of, like, in Xbox community, we just recently had Redfall. There are some things they can apologize for and things they should never apologize for as far as a studio goes and as their release. And the only thing they should be apologizing for, that's not the only thing, I'm sorry. The main thing they should apologize for is the false marketing of like 60 frames per second versus the 30 that they shipped.
Yeah.
That is disingenuous. That's an apology.jpg right there. We screwed up. But the creative of the game, you don't apologize to anybody for that. That's different. They're a customer. They choose to pay. They choose not to pay. And if you were wronged by it, you get your money back or whatnot. There's a difference there.
And I think that it's funny because, you and I have played a fair amount of Redfall. You've gone through and finished it without me. Not that I'm bitter. I plan on going back to. I want to play with other people. I don't know. Call me crazy.
I'm on vacation and we got Gears that I still want to play. I've been asking.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we haven't set the time up for that, but yeah, I definitely want
Do
to. So I do want to do Gears. I do want to finish. I want to have someone with me for Redfall. But the creative vision of Redfall is fantastic. Again, it's one of the worlds that I actually really love how they've built it. I love how they've designed it and stuff. Everything that I had trouble with was the technical issues, which I assume would get fixed up, and the quality of the AI tech.
Mhm.
I think that there are so many other studios within the Xbox ecosystem that Phil Spencer said that they needed to address earlier on. And I think that if they had some other teams helping them
Mhm.
with Unreal and how to develop AI for enemies, there was a strong possibility that we would have had some really fun. Like, can you imagine if 343 had been able to jump in with
Yeah.
Arcane and been like, all right, let's build out some AI for these vampires. We're gonna have some fun, and
Yeah.
that would like that.
343's AI is solid.
It would have been sick. It would have been
Yeah.
so much. So there's stuff like that. Like that's the thing that I think I've had trouble with Redfall with. But honestly, like it's still a very pretty game. I still really like how much fun I have in it. And it's like you'd brought up in the past. Like it's kind of dumb fun. Like it's it's shut your
Turn it
brain
on.
off, go kill some vampires. It's just like every other zombie shooter out there. It's like it
Mhm.
doesn't need to be deep. It just needs to be fun. And I
Right.
think that there is fun there.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I stand by everything I've said about that game, including the fact that I enjoyed playing it despite everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see you there. We have not done our Patreon, but we had a good discussion about apologies in games. And so I'm
The
really
kind
glad we
words.
had that one. Really glad we had that
kind words.
one.
It's a good way to start off the show because it's like,
Absolutely.
hey, I want to address this because I don't think we're going to really find a place within the showcase news to really touch about it, but
It's true.
it happened this week, and I think people need to really just kind of like chill out
Agree.
about some of that stuff.
Agree. In a world where you can get refunds, yes, yes. All right, let's do our Patreon shoutouts this week, Logan. I believe it's my turn to read these
Yes.
amazing names. These are the people that do so much to help us look and sound better. They drop some money into the tip jar each month to help us be at our best, and we appreciate you guys. Our tier 2 and 3 shoutouts go to Robbie Bobby Miller, Silent Cipher, Xbox Skittle, Hafrican, aka Charles Jones, Game Positive, Zach LeCoulter, Jam Pack Sam, Matt Valdez, Neo Prime 33, Rick Davis, Red Beast, Xbox Mike 29, Matt Without Fear, the Lord Sir Master James Suddy, Brendan Myers, aka The Winter Gamer, Sony's VP of Marketing Kevin Butler, Clint Coombs, DJ Hero, and Deno12. Thank you guys so much for supporting XEP over on patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass. We appreciate you, and I enjoy all of the patron members, tiers 1 through 3 in our Discord. We had some really good discussions this week. And as someone who was on the periphery of those conversations, Logan, because this week was so busy, I would just log in for my dose of good vibes because they're always just being good. They're always talking about games. It was cool. It was cool. And this
Yeah.
morning, just randomly, Ellery started a thread where they were asking about everyone's gamer tag, and people were exchanging and friending up. And that was just cool to watch, So yeah,
Definitely.
there we go. Well, Logan, we have a lot to talk about, my friend. The
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation Showcase aired this past week. I think I was in the minority and that I really, really enjoyed it. I really liked it. A lot of people really upset with it, debating the wherewithal of, was it a good showcase? Yes. Was it a good PlayStation Showcase? No. I'm always of the mind, Logan, that if you see a showcase of any kind and you leave with 2 or 3 games that you want to play, that's a good showcase. And I left with way more than that out of this one.
Yeah.
2 of them, I think, are PlayStation exclusive, and I'll play them on my PlayStation because I love playing good games. The rest were multi-platform, but I was really impressed with this showcase off the bat. And maybe I'm the find the fun guy, but what did you think?
So it was slower in the beginning for me.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely saw like games that were kind of they were kind of just like I don't know new versions of games that we already had, and I think I
Mm-hmm.
saw a lot of that
A lot of
this
sequels. A lot of
Yeah, a lot
sequels.
of sequels, but there's also like different takes on games that we've got on in elsewhere. Like there's
Mhm.
already like established IP that we have, like Foam Stars or Helldivers 2. Like it's clear that there's like someone somewhere playing Splatoon and they really love it and they want to make their own. There's definitely someone out there that's like, oh man, we can't get the IP for Starship Troopers. Somehow some other studio on Steam is doing it, so we'll just make another Helldivers. And it's and they're leaning
Hey,
heavy into the Starship
about
Troopers. Like,
Helldivers. I love Helldivers.
we'll talk about it. But then there's like moments where I got in there and I was seeing what they were doing, and I was like, okay, there are definitely some very unique projects that they're going to be bringing, and I'm glad that there was news from studios that I wasn't expecting, and there's stuff that I saw that I was like really wowed by. So overall, I would say that it was really long, but I still found plenty of stuff to really enjoy. I just don't think that I think we'll touch on this because I think it was really well said. I don't know that I would agree that this was a great PlayStation showcase, but it was a fun showcase.
Yeah, it lot and I want to make sure we talk about the strategy that PlayStation is employing with this showcase. I think that's a worthwhile thing to talk about. But
Yeah.
um with all the third party relationships there, we got a lot of multi-platform stuff, but I was all about it. I was all about it. Watching let's go, the first game was Alan Wake 2 for me. I love Alan Wake. I
Yeah.
absolutely love Alan Wake. I love Control. I think it's a great world that Sam Lake and the team at Remedy are creating.
Hmm.
The two go hand in hand quite well and were blended wonderfully in Control's DLC. And Alan Wake 2 looks amazing, amazing.
Yeah, it
Uh,
does.
the scope of it, I have a lot of questions about because they got a lot of funding on this one. It's
Hmm.
interesting that they're marketing with Sony on this one. I'm fascinated that Xbox still isn't trying to grab that old vibe there, which I think is kind of a miss on Xbox's part, but not a huge one. Uh, but in short, I was really excited by that new protagonist with Saga in there. The fact that there's a no disc version, fascinating. But simply put, this fall I'm playing the next Alan Wake game, and
Yeah.
it's from a Remedy that has been rejuvenated and revitalized with Control. I'm so there. Given the physics and stuff that they showcased in Control on Xbox Series X, dude, I'm stoked.
Yeah, it looked really good. I probably won't feel comfortable getting into a horror game like that. I know that Alan Wake is a really popular game. It's one of those ones that I just don't know that I could. I'll happily watch other people play it, but I'm
Mhm.
glad that they're finally getting closer. And this was one of the few games that actually showed in the showcase that had a solid date.
Mhm.
Because that's what I was looking for. I was looking for gameplay and solid dates because that's the thing that I think on both sides of the gaming industry, like regardless of which console you subscribe to, I think one of the things that I think showcases need to do is lock in dates and stick to them, but
Yeah.
also show gameplay. Like show me what it is, because I've seen so many trailers already, and the trailers are belying the gameplay aspect of it. I want to see UI. Like I'm fine seeing UI because a lot of games need better UI design, and
Mhm.
I saw some of it today, or I saw some of it in the showcase, but a
Mhm.
lot of it was still kind of missing. So I'm glad Alan Wake is confident in their Halloween launch window,
Mhm.
because I think it'll be a great Halloween. It's October 17th,
Mhm.
and I think that they've done a great job of saying like, hey, this coming Halloween, play
Mhm.
Alan Wake 2, a horror game, and I think that's fantastic. More of that, please.
Yeah. I agree. I really am stoked to see kind of if they try to capitalize on the horror aspect of it because Alan Wake always teased horror. There was not a true, it's not like Resident Evil. It's not like Silent Hill. It's more like
Mm,
thriller with a horror aesthetic. Almost Redfall's a bad Redfall and Ghostwire. You know how they're not horror games, but they dance on horror?
yeah,
That's how Alan Wake is. It's more of a thriller and a mystery.
yeah.
But there are definitely scary parts to it. I'm curious if they're going to lean full in on the horror for Alan Wake 2.
I
That's what I'm
mean,
fascinated by.
so if I recall correctly, and folks are more than willing to more than open to fact check me on this, but I think on the Game Awards when they first announced Alan Wake 2, they committed to going full horror with
Did they?
this. and that was the intent, is they wanted to go like full horror for this one, because they knew that the first one was like them kind of putting their feet in the water on the side of the pool, as opposed to diving off the diving board into
The
the deep
side of
end.
the lake, Logan. The
Side
side of
of
the
the lake.
lake.
There's no diving board on lakes, Luke. How am I supposed to dive into a lake?
The irony is that in Alan Wake, he dives into the lake, and it's a whole thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the irony there. For anybody that didn't play Alan Wake, they're like, yeah, I'm with Logan. Anybody that played it just like, I like Luke's joke. It was so funny.
One of us has the reference, and the other person has
As
no
the masses.
experience. So, but yeah, Alan Wake was a good one to kind of kick off like the main ones, and everything that I think we're going to be talking about is stuff that is coming to Xbox too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have a quick question actually before we get into the rest of the list, because I was thinking about this.
Okay.
If Sony has the marketing deals for this list of games that are coming to Xbox as well, what do you think that the chances are that any of these are actually going to be day one Game Pass?
Low. I think they're pretty darn low. I think Sony consistently builds into their deals. Don't go on Game Pass. Don't do this. And that sucks.
I know. That's why I was thinking about this, because I was like, there's a lot of good games on here, and I'm kind of bummed that Sony has the marketing deal, because it probably means we're not going to see these on Game Pass.
Yeah. The counter argument, which I don't know is a good counter argument, is like, we're supposed to pay for games, like it's as Xbox gamers that we have the mindset that it's like, hey, no, it's going to come to Game Pass. But I think Game Pass is increasingly, as Xbox's production gets better, it will be a place for first party titles and indies. At least that's what I think it is. And I think it was Kevin Ainsworth that said that on X Talk years ago, that he thinks that's where it's going. I think it was Kevin. If not, you suck, Kevin. No, I think that's what is going to happen to Game Pass, which I'm okay with, right? Like, that to me is fine. But I think the list, as we get to the end of it, we'll be able to point out what's not on there third party wise, and I think that opens some doors too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Any thoughts on the no retail version? Because I'm okay with it.
I'm fine with it. And honestly, the thing that because this was something that I was surprised about with the no retail version, was that they're actually subsidizing the cost of the digital version on what's it called?
Physical copies?
PC.
Oh, gotcha.
So I think the fact that they're actually, because this was a conversation I had with my wife, and I won't go into a huge tangent here, but there was a discussion that we had about AI taking over too many jobs, and companies and things getting better for people because companies wouldn't have to invest so much in production because AI would be taking over certain things. And I said, that's not how it works in the game industry at all. If companies are doing digital only, they're still going to charge full game price. They're just not going to take that money and give it to the devs. They're just going to pocket that money and put it somewhere else. So the fact that they are willing to make the no disc digital, or the digital version, like cheaper in areas like that's cool. It's nice to see that, because it's like they recognize, hey, like, we're saving money on this version. We're still making a pretty good profit on the digital copy. So you can afford to shave off $10.
Agree.
And not die.
Agree. And I'm appreciative of that tactic. I doubt it's one we see happen often, but cool. Rock on.
More of that, please.
Yeah, no kidding. Two, or a place you're not likely to see it, but somehow they managed to give me some good vibes. Konami announcing Metal Gear Solid Delta, which is a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3. And then they, in a separate announcement, but same showcase, obviously, Metal Gear Solids 1, 2, and 3, the collection for Metal Gear Solid, are coming to multiple platforms this fall. And I'm so excited because I love Metal Gear Solid, and I've been kind of frustrated with how the series has been sporadic, and you can't access that. You can't access the old games. Like, the first Metal Gear Solid was PlayStation 1. Then they did a remake for GameCube that was fantastic called The Twin Snakes. Metal Gear Solid 2 is multiplat. Metal Gear Solid 3, I believe, multiplat. Metal Gear Solid 4 exclusive. Metal Gear Solid 5 multiplat. And it bums me out because there's no way right now to access the Metal Gear Solid franchise on Xbox or even PlayStation. You can't get to all of them easily. And so I love that this collection's happening. I love that it's multi-platform because MGS 1 and 2 are both Breath of the Wild level iconic for their time, and they set things in motion that changed gaming. And so I'm very excited for this one. And then the one Metal Gear Solid game I've never played is Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, and that's getting a remake, a full remake from Konami. The question will be, can Konami pull this off given their track record? And Hideo Kojima is not involved. What does that mean for a remake? And I don't know the answers to that, but I'm still excited to see life in the Metal Gear Solid realm because those games are really special to me. So I'm stoked for that. I was so excited for that. On my wish list on the Megadad show, I said I wanted those things, and then bam, there they were. I felt prophetic and excited.
Yeah, it's Metal Gear Solid. Hideo Kojima, working with Konami, they built some of the best experiences as far as just like espionage and stealth mechanics. Like there's like Metal Gear and there's like Splinter Cell, and those are like the two main games that people go to when it comes to like military government type espionage and sneaking around and just trying to take enemies out through interesting mechanics and good storytelling. Metal Gear Solid 3 was the last one that I got into. I never played any of the other ones outside of that. And I could barely even understand what the heck I was going on with 3, because it was like it starts you off in like a jungle and you're like crawling around. You got to eat a snake and then you got to sneak in somewhere through some wire fences. And I'm like, I don't understand what the hell, like, where's the gun? Where's the box?
Mm-hmm.
This is not the Metal Gear I played.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm used to 1 and 2, and
Mm-hmm.
2 is my favorite. But obviously because I didn't get 3 and I never played the other ones, it was like, I don't really have a whole lot of experience with these. So I'm glad that that we're getting an opportunity to get the full thing. I always thought that you could buy these digitally on the store. Like I've always seen these on like the Xbox store, like the HD collections. So I feel like I'm having a
you feel like you're having a stroke. That's because the HD collection was not. It didn't include the first game.
no.
I think there was a roundabout way to get to it, but it's complex. It had I think it had a PSP game in there. You got 2 and 3, but it was a little bit of a jumble. And then 4 is still out there on exclusive PS3 land. I really wonder if that game will not ever, but will at some point make its way, because emulating PS3 is difficult because of the cell processor. But that Metal Gear Solid 4 makes zero sense if you try to play that without knowing anything. You need like an hour-long YouTube video, but the gameplay in it is unrivaled. That is one of the best video game
Oh, really?
I've ever played in terms of like the stealth, the AI, the weaponry and stuff. Now it's hyper complex as well. And I don't know that I'm interested. I enjoyed it when I was in college and had time, right?
Yeah,
But
so many.
for MGS 1 through 3 to be readily available on current gen systems without any tomfoolery, I'm stoked for, because it's a pain, especially with the first game. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I want modernized controls, and I just want to be able to enjoy it. But in general, the big thing is Metal Gear Solid is back. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what they do with 3, and I'm glad that they're remaking it. I don't know who's making it though, and I don't know if anyone else does.
Red flags. But
it'll be interesting to see like how that all kind of works out. You're right, dude. I just so I hopped on the Xbox store to come try and like buy Metal Gear Solid HD edition, and it is not currently available. So why is it listed in the show or in the store?
Like, it's weird. It might have been maybe on your Xbox One or your 360 you can buy it. Maybe that's why. But it's a mess. It's
up.
Just confusing and strange. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
Did you see the Capcom multi-plat game that was in there? I got so stoked for this one.
The Capcom multi-plat game that was in the showcase.
I'll give you a hint. There's some Dogma involved, and there's a dragon.
Huh.
Dragon's Dogma 2, baby. I'm so excited. I love Dragon's Dogma, man. That game was the game that allowed me that, and Kingdoms of Amalur taught me that I could enjoy fantasy games because I'm not a fantasy guy. So stoked for Dragon's Dogma 2 because Dark Arisen does not hold up. I tried to go back to it during the pandemic.
Oh
It
yeah,
does
me too.
mechanically, it doesn't click the way it used to.
No.
It's time for a modernization, and that's a great series, and it's got some Monster Hunter elements. I love Dragon's Dogma, so I'm in. I was in.
That's cool. Yeah, no, I tried this during the pandemic. Everyone was talking about Dragon's Dogma, and it was like, oh my God, I can't wait. It's super cheap. So I bought it super cheap, and I jumped in, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
I do not know what's going on. They're throwing pronouns at me like I'm supposed to understand this universe. I don't know who these people are. I don't know what these races are. I have no clue who these cities are. I don't care about any of that. Just let me play. So yeah, I went back to try and play that, and I was like, so I dipped out.
Unlike with Metal Gear Delta, which is the Snake Eater remake, by the way, bad for SEO, but whatever. Delta means change, everyone. Dragon's Dogma 2 has Capcom at the helm. So with Konami, I have no confidence. Capcom hasn't missed lately.
No, man. They've been doing really good.
They've been doing really well, and I know that, and they've got Exoprimal and Street Fighter set to launch.
Yeah.
We've been hands-on with one of those, and I'm really excited for what Capcom continues to showcase these past few years, because they just seem to be riding the high, the same high that like Ubisoft had for a little while when Vivendi was trying to get them, so they were making like really good games. But I'm stoked to see what Capcom does with Dragon's Dogma. I doubt it soon. I really doubt it soon. It's 2024 holiday, I would bet, or later. But stoked for that one, and that was cool. So I'm in for that.
That's cool. I'll be definitely interested to see what it is. Can I? You mentioned Metal Gear Solid Delta. They have the Delta symbol, and you're right that it's hard to search for that. Like the SEO is not very strong for that. Can I say the ingenuity that has to come from the fact that they used the symbol for Delta, and the fact that it looks like a triangle, which is kind of like a snake's head, and a triangle has 3 sides for Metal Gear Solid 3. And Delta means change. Like that is like levels deep that I was not expecting. And I appreciate it.
It's very Metal Gear, but also
terrible.
Probably not your best bet, guys. But smart, it is Metal Gear.
But figure out a better way to SEO that.
Right. Exactly. Did you see Bungie's announcement? Oh, real quick. One of the things that was interesting about this is some of the live service stuff that Sony is doing, which is fascinating. Yeah. Including Bungie's new game, The Return of Marathon.
The reimagining.
Yes.
It's not a remake. It's a brand new game. They stole the IP. This is my baby. I know I play Bungie games. I play Destiny, I should say. You play Halo, but they don't do Halo
and anymore. I played the first Destiny a lot.
Yeah. So Marathon. Tarkov is amazingly popular right now. DMZ and Call of Duty is trying to come up with something to play around with that. Marathon is Bungie's version of a cyberpunk Tarkov, and it looks so freaking beautiful. If you play Destiny 2, you've seen their new content. You've been playing, Bungie knows how to develop environments. Like their environments are some of the most breathtaking environments you can have in games, while still maintaining some of the best shooter mechanics that any game has out there. Like they just know gunplay. It's intrinsic to what their DNA is with Halo, with Destiny. Like they understand it. Marathon is a callback to their old original game, which was like a Doom style game that you ran around in and stuff. So Marathon plays into the idea of what is a Tarkov extraction shooter game. But think like if you're old, then you probably know Running Man, where Running Man is like a bunch of champions thrown into an arena where they have to kill each other and get out. That is effectively what Marathon is. They had a really awesome ARG that got sent out to some major streamers that are big for Tarkov, like Dr. Lupo and some other ones. When they unlocked the ARG, which is just them kind of like working out the puzzles with the ciphers that they were given and stuff, they unlocked a vid doc that they had made for Marathon. And watching the vid doc, it got me so excited for this game because it looks so cool. Like they want you to feel like expressive. They want you to feel like you're this cyberpunk mercenary who's going into these zones to try and get different alien artifacts to piece together to get a bigger one. So you drop into these persistent zones on Tau Ceti, and you have to go get loot, and you have to get out, and you might run into other people, very much kind of like Division in the dark zones, stuff like that.
Yes.
But
DMZ and Call of Duty.
yep. So it's very much like what those types of games are doing right now. You go in, you deal with PvE elements to try and get loot. You deal with PvPers who are going to try and get what you have or stop you from extracting, and you got to get out. I love the idea that they're looking to really kind of showcase players who are exceptional. They talked about having players who happen to find like an alien key, and then they take that alien key and they unlock a new zone, and forever those people will be etched in history as the ones that unlocked this new zone. So then those people have to go into that zone and figure out how to clear it so that they can then unlock it for the rest of the community. And it's like, imagine being the squad who has the experience, who goes in and finds this thing randomly, gets it knows what to do with it, gets it there, and then opens up a brand new zone for other people to go and explore. Like, man, it's just such a cool concept. So this is one of those ones where they've also like figured out like, okay, full cross save, full cross play is going to be built in from the get go, because that's one of the biggest pain points about Destiny 2 is that
console, PC and console, including Xbox, because it's a PlayStation owned company.
Yeah, PlayStation owned company, but it's coming to Xbox Series X and S. It's coming to PlayStation 5 and to PC as well. So it's completely new gen current hardware stuff. So it's going to be they're learning from the mistakes that they had to make up for with Destiny 2, where everything was siloed, and they're going to be making a lot of work, or they're putting a lot of work into making sure that it doesn't matter where you play, you'll still be able to access it. So makes me wonder what the cost of this is going to be at that point.
I appreciate that this is one of many games that Sony is supporting in the live service element, because they're doing a lot for live service stuff right now to build. And if it gets coming to PC day one, Sony said that it's a live service thing. And so that's cool. Now I will tell you, I don't get excited for this, despite an incredibly beautiful trailer. That trailer is pure art.
Yeah.
I don't know that this excites me in any way, shape, or form, because it feels like a reach to try and bring Marathon back to modern audiences. It's a multiplayer-esque game, whereas Marathon Original was single-player-esque. It feels like they're just trying to use the name and capitalize on a popular trend right now. Yeah. And what we've seen often is games that come following trends, but they come too late and they miss, right? And that is a unique element. It's like the foam game that Square Enix is making. Foam Stars. Clearly a thing on Splatoon, but Splatoon 3 didn't hit the way Splatoons 1 and 2 did. That's not to say it's not good. It's not to say people don't love it, but I mean, it's not the same vibes. And I'm wondering if this is going to come too late by the time it actually gets to launch. Will people be over the Tarkov experience? Or rather, I should rephrase, will they be over the expansion of that market? Will the market be done growing and it's just catering to its people? Because Destiny doesn't bring in new people anymore. People that play Destiny en masse, and I mean, like, here and there, en masse Destinies for the Destiny community. I would argue Sea of Thieves has this problem right now. Short of a Pirates Caribbean 2 expansion, people that play Sea of Thieves are probably just going to play Sea of Thieves, right? Like I doubt that market is expanding. So I'm curious if that happens, or is the Tarkov-esque extraction shooter done growing in its genre, and this is just going to be slicing a piece of the pie as opposed to expanding it?
What I'll say in response to that is, I think with something like Foam Stars, there's been a lot of scrutiny over the quality of Square Enix lately. And I don't think that anything I saw with Foam Stars looks to really really kind of expand too much. Not to make a foam joke there, but it doesn't look like it's really expanding on the formula that is Splatoon. I think the faults with Splatoon 3 is that it wasn't different enough, and it just
Mm-hmm.
felt like it was more of Splatoon 2 with different maps.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't, and that's the problem. That's the problem that I think Nintendo has right now is that they're pushing so hard against actually doing live service games that they're not willing to admit that Mario Kart and Splatoon ought to be live service games. They're a lot more comfortable releasing small DLC packs for those, or releasing new entries in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the problem with Splatoon right now. You know, like Arms should have been a game that did really, really well, and it should have been a live service game.
Mm-hmm.
But it fell short there because they released it shortly before Splatoon 2, which was such a difference compared to Splatoon 1, for as far as quality and play. With Marathon, I think that they had the IP. I think that they wanted to do something, but they didn't want to do a Doom style shooter. I think they were all, and it really does. I genuinely do believe this. Most game studios have employees that are playing games, and the games that they're playing are the games that they are not working on most of the time. And those games are usually the ones that are going to influence the next project,
Mm-hmm.
because they're all going to sit down, they're going to have a powwow, and they're going to be like, all right, what should our next game be? And they're like, well, I'm having really fun with Tarkov, or I'm
Mm-hmm.
having a lot of fun with DMZ. And they're going to be like, okay, well, what can we do there? And they're like, we have Marathon. It's kind of like Running Man,
Mm-hmm.
the old 80s movie. Go look it up. And we could do something like that and make it more cyberpunk. And that conversation was good enough that they're like, all right, let's do it. Let's have, and then, because if they're making that game because they're already playing Escape from Tarkov, the passion is going to be there. They're going to love playing that because it's their version of Tarkov and they get to make it. So I don't know that I worry so much about whether or not the market is going to become stagnant by the time this comes out. I think I'm going to be more concerned about, is this game going to be accessible to a large enough audience that it will justify pushing in on that territory? Because I've seen it fail, and I've seen games that, like, for example, Dota 2 came out before League of Legends, which came out before Heroes of the Storm. Heroes of the Storm was late to the game, but it is one of my favorites to play out of those three MOBAs. But League of Legends dominated the market as far as like MOBA goes, because it's so accessible to players compared to Dota 2.
Right.
So there's always going to be places where you find your market, but I don't think that it'll be too late for Bungie to put this game out and have it be fun and have people get pulled into it, because you've already got the Destiny 2 PvP fans who are going to absolutely jump on this because it's a Destiny, it's a Bungie title.
Right. I just wonder about the staying power. That's what I'm curious about.
True.
How are you going to keep it engaged? You know,
I think that a lot of it will come down to cosmetics and gameplay loop. If the gameplay loop is solid, then I think it'll have a staying power, because that's what keeps Destiny 2 alive right now.
Yeah. Still an interesting. Yeah, she's hanging out.
Aww.
She doesn't go downstairs by herself anymore, at least not often. So she's up here with me. So yeah, it's just me and the dog for the next 3 days. So it's kind of been I really enjoyed it. It was nice. Just laying on the couch playing games last night, playing on my Series S last night, finishing Ghostwire, hanging out with her on the couch. It was good.
Aww.
So yeah, it was good.
She's Shepherd?
Yeah, Australian Shepherd. She is going to be 15 next month. Yeah, it's
ancient.
It's coming. We're struggling.
It'll be okay. It'll be okay. Take a week.
Yeah, I want to call attention to a couple other things. I really liked. Let's see, what was it? Oh, Immortals of Aveum. I think that's a game that people are cautiously optimistic about, including myself. It looks cool. It's an EA original. It's Ascendant Studios. That's a team I would love to talk to. I think it's Brett Robbins that's over there. In short, I think it's neat to see. It's a first person. Is it a first person magic shooter or third person?
Yeah.
It's first person. First
Yeah.
person. But a magic shooter, which I'm kind of in on, having just finished Ghostwire and seeing some of the gameplay. You put in the notes that it gives you Outriders vibes. I get that too.
Yeah.
But something about like that, it's a summer release, which makes me like, yeah, that's a summer game for me. So I'm excited for Immortals of Aveum.
Yeah.
For sure. That is a fun one for me. I don't know if you were high on it, but I was all about it. But I find the fun in AA. So.
I think the magic system is very interesting. They've got color systems that I don't quite understand, because I've seen like the green color for magic be a healing and a shielding, but then I saw like a mini gun as well too. So very curious how they've designed the actual spell system. Reminds me a lot of like what Forspoken was doing, as far as like the depth that you can get into with that game as far as the magic system goes. So it looks cool. I think that there's definitely a lot of polish missing, as far as just like, I don't know, the lighting wasn't that great. They definitely could have like upped it in there, but they're trying something different, and I think that's commendable. I hope it feels good. I hope it plays well, because if you have something like that is got a really good magic system, it'll be very interesting to see how this plays, compared to something like Avowed when we start to get that, because that also will have some pretty strong magic first person shooter elements, and I'll be very curious to see how this plays out. But yeah, I think if you like or not Ghostwire, yeah, Ghostwire Tokyo.
Outriders, Ghostwire.
Ghost Runner and Ghostwire are messing with me right now, because we have Ghost Runner 2 in the notes as well. But yeah, I think those two, I think Ghostwire Tokyo and Immortals of Aveum are going to be very good complementary plays if you like one or the other.
I agree. Did you like what you saw for Assassin's Creed Mirage? It's kind of the last of the big AAA elements that were
I
in here.
did.
I thought it was good too.
I had a lot of good feelings about this. It looks like an Assassin's Creed game. It looks like, an Ezio style game where you're just going to be hopping around, sneaking in between crowds and stabbing people with hidden blades. It looks like they've got a really, really good system that they're going back to as far as like the smaller game. And I put this in the show notes, but I genuinely think that this is going to be like the next Batman game for you. Like it's going to have the Assassin's Creed skin on it, but I think a lot of the mechanics spoke to me as far as like the Arkham games, and I think that gameplay is there for you.
I think it is too. I'm cautious about this one because I've had a lot of fun with some Assassin's Creed games, and then there have been others where I just didn't bother touching, didn't care to be interested in. Too many mechanics, too many systems, which is a problem in games right now, I think.
A lot of RPG bloat.
Yeah, and so if this is a more, I don't know what the right term would be, slim version of an Assassin's Creed, because I think Valhalla was too big. Like
streamlined.
It was just streamlined. Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted. A streamlined experience. Then yeah, I'm totally in on that one. And
it's kind of what they're putting towards. I think that's kind of what they're pushing. They're like, hey, you know what? We went real broad with Valhalla, which is a fantastic game. And I think they're kind of narrowing the scope with Mirage. And I think a lot of people are going to enjoy that.
That brings me back, because the people that got in on Valhalla, they had so much to play with. But that was basically a live service game in a lot of ways. And I want Mirage to be a confined experience. So I liked that. That was my take on that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Go ahead.
I wanted to call out real quick before I forget. For fans of Destiny 2, the Final Shape trailer was so important. It was one of those things that Destiny 2 fans were absolutely just beside themselves. That Cade is back. And I keep forgetting the Y in his name. But Cade is back and Nathan Fillion's playing him. I cannot wait to find out what happens when he finds out that Aldrin is been reborn as Crow. And yeah, I'm really excited about that. So anyway, I had to get that in there.
I don't know what that means, but Cade is.
But you played Destiny 1.
I did, but Is Crow the prince? Wasn't he the prince?
Yeah, Uldren was the prince,
Oh, okay.
brother to Marasov, who was killed and then reborn as a light and is
A
now
light.
Crow.
Yeah, Crow, sixth of his name. Yep. um, but I
Get
love that
out of
Nathan
here.
Fillion is back. I hope. No, it's not a fair. I would imagine this is a response to losing the amazing Lance Reddick in terms of voice and passion for fans. And I wonder if this was in the works.
This has been in the works for a long time.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm
This,
glad to know that. But
yeah.
it's I would imagine also you see something in there for Lance Reddick somehow, some way. But
We're
Destiny,
still.
like, I don't think anyone's going back to Destiny that was out.
If you aren't steeped in Destiny now, it's in its best state, honestly. I mean, I know that the latest expansion is probably one of the weaker of the last three, but genuinely, like, Destiny, as far as quality of life elements go, it's putting some amazing content out there, and they're really trying hard to try and, like, make that game more accessible to other people, because they realize they've got system bloat in there, and they need to really, like we were just talking about with Assassin's Creed, they got to streamline their process as far as, like, what you do, and they are doing it, and it's becoming a lot more accessible to people, because I can't recommend that people jump in and feel like I'm not setting them up to fail unless they spend a bunch of money to get all the content. And that's a shame, because it is a free to play game technically. But yeah, Lance, we're still getting story with Lance Reddick, so there's a lot of content that he made before he passed. So we still haven't seen, like, how they're going to address his passing. It was so sudden. I don't think anyone's going to be able to really. I don't think we're going to get a good send off. I think it's going to be an abrupt send off, and I think it's going to be recognized by the community that we didn't get a choice in this. He was taken from us, and as much as that sucks, there has to be some sort of reconciliation in the game itself. But it's not going to be good. It's going to be painful, and it sucks to have to do that.
Yeah. Well, a number of other smaller titles also in the PlayStation Showcase. I don't know if you wanted to mention. I'm going to list them, and then if you wanted to talk about one, feel free. Talos Principle 2, Ghost Runner 2, Neva, or pronounced Neva, but it's from the Greece developers. Plucky
Beautiful.
Squire and Teardown. Is there any that spoke to you in terms of the multiplats that you wanted to talk about?
Just Plucky Squire. I think Neva's a really beautiful game. I think Ghost Runner 2 is going to capitalize on what it does already, and it looks really cool. But Plucky Squire, man, this is one that people need to be keeping an eye out for, because this is the Paper Mario I want. This is like, if you're familiar with it, it's a game that's told as like a storybook, but you're actually looking at the book itself, and you're playing as Jot, and you've got friends with you like Thrash and Pip. And you're just kind of running around this kind of storybook game. You know, it's sometimes it's 2D side scroller, sometimes it's 3D like isometric, sometimes it's free camera, sometimes you're looking top down in a 2D version. You know, they're playing around with the environment as your world, and you have ways to transition between like a 2D and 3D platform, and it looks so wholesome. It's coming from Devolver Digital, which Devolver rarely misses when it comes to their games that they publish. It's supposed to come out this year at some point, so hopefully that does. We didn't get many dates in the showcase, a lot of years, but this is one of those ones that, man, if Paper Mario was actually doing this, I think people would have a lot more reverence for Paper Mario than they currently do, because I think their last game was cut short for time and shipped without a fully realized feature set. But like Plucky Squire is going to be, it's going to be the next what is the Hades? It's going to be the next Hades. It's going to be the next Cuphead. It's going to be the next I'm blanking on the other one. What was the one with the little fox? Little fox Link clone roguelike.
Tunic.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
It's going to be the next one of those. Like it really, really is. Like if you or It Takes Two,
Okay.
beautiful little games that I think you're really going to have a lot of fun with.
Mm-hmm.
That honestly don't deserve to be as good as they are for the budget that they're probably going to, or for the cost that they're probably going to charge for it. Because I can't imagine this game really being more than like $40, but
Mm-hmm.
I would happily pay 70.
Games like Plucky Squire and the titles that you listed make me desperately wish Summer of Arcade was a thing again from the 360
Yeah,
era, because it was a spotlighted, curated list of elite indie experiences that
need that.
each brought something to the table, and then you were rewarded if you checked out all of them, which allowed for more exposure. I wish that we had something like that that was recognizable by the masses, because there have been various promotions over the years, but none that clicked the way that we that did. So
Yeah.
I know Ghost Runner will appeal to people. I know the Grease developed Neva will as well.
Mhm.
Cats seem to be a thing uh,
A lot of
in
cats.
games. A lot of cats. Strays
Cat
coming to
Quest.
Xbox, but so.
Stray's a good game.
Is it?
It's
I heard it was game of the year.
I really enjoyed it. I think that it's got it definitely has like an indie feel to it. But honestly, like they've done a really good job with some of the puzzles in that, and it's just a fun game to traverse in.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely not going to be for everyone, so don't go into it thinking you should like this game. Not everyone's going to have a good time with it. It's kind of like the Cat Quest perits of the Peruvian. It's fun. It's definitely going to be a good game, but it's not going to be for everyone. So don't expect that you're going to love it.
Gotcha. That's fair. The non-exclusive games that I got excited for were Helldivers and Spider-Man 2. And that meant that I left with Spider-Man 2, Helldivers, Alan Wake 2, Dragon's Dogma, Metal Gear Solid, Delta, Metal Gear Solid Collection, Immortals of Aveum. That was like 7 games. Oh, and Assassin's Creed Mirage. That's 8 games that I left this showcase like definitely all in for.
Yeah.
Which meant that I was really happy with it at the end of the day. I recognize that a lot of PlayStation gamers really wanted more from their first party studios, and I appreciate that sentiment. But
Yeah.
we saw a strategy of wanting to have a diverse portfolio. We saw a strategy of wanting to partner with third parties again to bring great experiences to PlayStation, which is something that Xbox doesn't do enough of, I think. And we saw kind of an approach to bringing in new hardware, which I don't know that I agree with their strategy on, but they were investing in
Oh.
cloud with the Remote Play Q, Project Q, but not cloud, which is strange. A lot of debates there. I don't want to have that. I don't want to have a Project Q discussion. But I saw a PlayStation that was willing to do things and be disruptive in some places, but not enough in some ways. Nonetheless, I thought this was a good showcase for them, and I
Yeah.
would expect you see a first party PlayStation game or two at Keeley's presentations. I think that's where you're gonna see some stuff. And I know people came out and like insiders came out and said that. Whatever, I don't care. It did feel like they were holding something back, and Keeley has a good relationship with PlayStation, so why wouldn't they have something for him? But we're in an Xbox community that has gone an entire year with no first parties and survived just fine, right? And you
Yeah.
have Spider-Man. What more do you need? Like, what more
And
do you
Final
need?
Fantasy 16. You guys got
Yeah,
Final Fantasy 16 and Spider-Man 2. Y'all are
yeah,
fine.
you're fine. And it's not like PlayStation's not doing big. Like, there's a promise with PlayStation of elite first party experiences. There's an expectation of that, and they don't
Which is
have to prove things the way that Xbox does.
yeah.
Call that how you like it. That's just how it is. And so I was not upset with this presentation at all as a PlayStation customer. I thought there was a lot I could play on my PlayStation, which I hope we can say at the end of the Xbox one. Like, there's a lot I can play on my Xbox. If
Yeah.
I get 8 games, I'm happy.
Yeah. No, I there was definitely, and we didn't even get into the conversation about the PSVR aspect of it because it doesn't really pertain to us, but there are some really good announcements in the PSVR world, which has gotten me back into that headset. So I've
Good.
it's genuinely like it's cool to see that there's stuff, because I think the last one before Beat Saber was Humanity. That was the last time
Yeah.
that I had gotten into the PSVR 2 stuff. But yeah, it's I'm really, really excited to play Spider-Man 2. I think the Metal Gear Solid stuff is going to be very unique, and I'm interested to see like where that goes into. Helldivers 2, definitely, if that's how I got to get Starship Troopers, and that's how I'll get Starship Troopers.
There's a good
Alan Wake,
Starship Troopers game on PC that's coming to console too.
yeah. Well, so I don't know if it's coming to console. I don't know if have they? Okay.
Well, it's coming to console. I don't know when. I know what it is. At least it's in development.
Yeah, it's in development. I honestly like the whole. You brought up the whole Keeley thing. I don't know if that's like if that's true, then that's just marketing deals, folks. Like you're still getting your games. Like who cares if it's at Keeley's or if it's at Sony's? It doesn't matter. Like Xbox is getting all these games, but they didn't get to announce these games. Sony did because that's the marketing deal. It's just that's all it is. I didn't see anything in this showcase that was like coming exclusive DLC to Sony PlayStation.
I didn't either.
I appreciate that.
I also appreciate that, and I'm curious what that means. And I wonder, broad strokes, I wonder if ABK has anything to do with that because they're each trying to position themselves a certain way.
Maybe,
maybe, right? Or is that too tinfoily? I don't know.
Nah, because that's all. It's like that kind of stuff is marketing. I think it does kind of come down to like, does the studio want to produce content for Sony? Is Sony putting in money enough that the studio is like, okay, fine, we'll make a couple levels that are just for PlayStation? I don't think they're doing that.
I think it's frustrated to me in the Xbox One era where Xbox wouldn't pay for that kind of stuff, and so I wasn't getting those benefits. And there was a game recently that I was frustrated to see PlayStation or Xbox is not getting. That PlayStation is, and I can't remember what it was. It is not Inspector Gadget, which I saw people losing their minds over. I was like, to be respectful to developers, don't attack people. Like, come on.
But it's also a weird move that they're like, if you show enough on one social media platform, then we'll go ahead and put it out. It's like,
yeah, that engagement doesn't equal dollars every time. And so it's just, very strange. Very strange.
It felt a little baity, but there was no reason for people to be so outrageous about it.
It's like that hypercharged action figure game that consistently was trying to get Xbox content creators on there to have them on and discuss with them. And like, I toyed with that, but they were just begging for views every time. And it felt strange. Now, is it just a strategy? Cool. All right. Nice. Yeah. But if that's the only strategy, I think I'd be a little upset. Bottom line, I'm appreciative of this showcase. And I think for Xbox, I want to see first party stuff because they have a different problem than Sony does, right? Like they have a different issue. We know too much about Xbox's portfolio of what is coming, but not what that actually is. We know the names of things. We've got teaser trailers, but we don't know what that actually means. So I'm anxious to see kind of what Xbox is going to bring to their showcase. I'm curious to see what AA and indie stuff they choose to spotlight. Because Immortals of Aveum is here, right? Ghost Runner is here. So what do we see there? I noticed that there was no superhero WB game, which, Suicide Squad is time. I really would love an Arkham collection that's modernized. I'm curious to know if we get an answer on the superhero space for Xbox at their upcoming showcase. Do we find out what Everwild is? Do we find out what Avowed gameplay really looks like? Indiana Jones and Contraband are toss-ups. There's so many questions to be answered by this Xbox showcase, and I think PlayStation might be getting some flack, but the reality is that a lot of people are going to be playing stuff, and there's a lot of positive views there. I think it was Bungie sales, and you put in our notes. Do you want to read some of that stuff? Because that's interesting as far as the viewership.
Yeah, like a lot of people looking at the videos, the trailers for a lot of this PlayStation showcase. So Marathon had 13 million views. Spider-Man 2 gameplay had 12.2 million views. Assassin's Creed Mirage hit 3 million, which is long established franchise, no surprise there. Metal Gear Solid 3 remake has got 2.8, not surprising. It doesn't really talk a whole lot about what's going on. Destiny 2 The Final Shape got 2.3, which speaks to how important I think it is that Cade's coming back. The Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted 2 got 1.6, which I don't know about you, but that surprised the heck out of me because I completely forgot about Five Nights at Freddy's.
Kids love that. Every week my students would tell me about Five Nights at Freddy's.
No way. Oh,
Yeah, and they
okay.
read books about it and everything, and, like, it's just one of those things is, like, I'm too old. It's like Crocs, like, I'm like, "Oh, okay, you love it. That's nice. That's good. That's good."
Okay, but then Dragon's Dogma 2 coming in underneath with 1.5 million from Five Nights at
Really
Freddy's.
surprised me.
Like,
Really surprised me.
yeah. So I would just, it was cool to see that so many of these trailers, even though people were kind of disparaging the showcase in general, especially because it didn't show like a whole lot of new stuff for Sony fans to look forward to in like 2024, which that's fair, honestly. But Sony also usually has something going on around the times of like Gamescom or something like in August, September. We'll see what's coming in 2024 when that's the case. But
Mhm,
they're consistent about focusing on the immediate, which I appreciate because like
mhm,
you said with Xbox, which I think shouldn't get lost in this episode, we know too much about Xbox titles right now and not enough about what is coming in the immediacy. Like we
mhm.
know Starfield's coming, but that's it for Xbox. So I
Nope.
would
Forza.
have
Starfield and Forza.
that's true. Fair.
I
Okay.
forget I forget about Forza because Forza to me is the Xbox problem is that they put out great games that are super niche, you
Yeah.
know? Get your Hi-Fi, your Pentiment, your Age of
Xbox.
Empires, all great games, Flight Sim, but it's all for very small audiences. And so I'm curious if that's what Forza is or if Forza is going to blow the socks off because everyone tells me Gran Turismo 7 is doing super well.
Yeah.
But like I never see that on my timeline, but like curated timelines. Why would I see Gran Turismo 7?
You're not
Right?
playing it.
Not
Yeah.
playing it. It's not my thing. It's a simulation racer, not my thing. So like I don't know. Like Flight
Yeah.
Sim's super popular apparently. I've never seen that on my timeline.
Superhero games are the games that have the broadest appeal. It's why Hogwarts Legacy did so well. It's an
Mhm.
established IP with movies out there that everyone understands the world. Everyone understands what they can expect from it. Same thing with Spider-Man. Same thing with Wonder Woman. Same thing with Wolverine. Like Batman, Superman. Suicide Squad. These are the games that are going to have the broad group of people looking at it, like the mainstream appeal. And you're right to call out that Xbox doesn't really have anything like that in the near future. And I don't think any of the titles that we know about right now, outside of maybe like Indiana Jones, is
Which
really going to pull in that broad scope of gamers to be like,
in,
hey, this is why you should be playing on Xbox.
man, I'm telling you, Indiana Jones needs to be a 9 out of 10 or better for anyone to care. Like
Yeah.
that's not I do not like dumping on Indiana Jones because I know to our like to people our age and older, uh, it's a notable name, but like what kid knows who Indiana Jones is? It's not even the guy from Fortnite, even though he was in Fortnite, right? Like it's not even that. No one knows or cares who Indiana Jones is. Um, it's not even as recognizable as Tomb Raider to younger kids, right?
Nathan
So
Drake
that
is
is
more popular than Indiana Jones to younger generations.
100%. And so, we'll see what dividends it pays, but if it's a great game, then it will speak for itself. But I don't
Yeah.
think the name is going to carry it very far. That doesn't mean it wasn't a bad that does not mean it was a bad get, but now you must deliver the game, and that is not something Xbox has shown the ability to do. Which is that's the solve to all of these problems is make great games. And I disagree with Spencer's take a few weeks ago when he's like, I can't just make a great game and that fixes it. I'm like, no, I think it does. Um, but it
It
may
was
not make you outsell,
yeah.
but you'll definitely be back on track.
That's the thing that I think I took umbrage with because it was some of the great games that have been coming to systems that made me buy those systems. Like
Mhm,
Sea of Thieves made me buy an Xbox. I was playing it
mhm,
on PC. I wanted to play it elsewhere. I really wanted to check out the rest of the thing, but Sea of Thieves was the justification for my Xbox.
mhm,
Actually, Cyberpunk too. Cyberpunk was the other half of that.
mhm,
But I played Sea of Thieves until I could play Cyberpunk
mhm,
on my One X. But then like Spider-Man, I bought the bundle for
mhm,
the PS4 Slim and the
mhm,
Spider-Man for like $200. Spider-Man was the justification for buying that thing. Xbox should strive to have those style of games. Starfield's going to be one of those games.
mhm,
Whatever comes after Starfield for the next big title,
mhm.
that's what I'm hoping for with this showcase. I'm hoping to find out what the next big game that is going to be the system seller is for Xbox post Starfield. So I hope that the Xbox showcase gives us a timeline for 6 months post Starfield, and that we can kind of know like what to look forward to.
I genuinely think Grounded is one of the games that needs to be on the Series S box. The Series S, Grounded,
yeah.
they are hand in hand great. And I really think that, and I know there's some weird oddity there because Private Division and Obsidian and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But like
Private Division does the ports to other consoles for the Outer Worlds, but that's it. Like they did this, they did the Switch port, and that was it.
But they were initially funding
Yeah,
Grounded
yeah,
because that's who I went through when I got Adam Brennicky on. So
yeah.
that's the caveat. But if you can get Grounded on a box, particularly around the new Honey, I Shrunk the Kids something or another that's coming out, if you can get Grounded on a
That'd be
box,
cool.
it's colorful, it's bright, it's festive. If you can find a way to make that happen, I think you've got a good bundle box for the holiday because the Series S is such a great system.
Yeah.
And without putting too fine a point on it, there's no reason to own a Series X right now unless you want discs. Like they're not capitalizing on the hardware. They're not pushing. What game is pushing the Series X? I don't know. Right? Like Jedi Survivor was beautiful, but I don't feel like my gameplay was nerfed by it. So that's
fair.
my argument.
I find value in mine because I love my living room Series X because it's on my LG C1
Same.
TV.
Same.
So when I'm playing Sea of Thieves, I'm playing it at 1080, but I'm playing it at 120 frames per second, and it is beautiful. Let me tell you.
Absolutely agree.
So that is it's hard to judge like why a Series S wouldn't be able to do that, but there are like pinpoint examples I can point to and be like, oh yeah, that's why I love my Series X. But I don't blame you, honestly. Physical is a great way, and honestly, if you have a disc version of one of the new gen consoles and you're not stopping by like a GameStop to pick up like the cheap disc copies of stuff that are used, you're doing yourself a disservice for having that console in the first place.
Logan hates developers. You heard it here. Everyone note it. Logan hates developers. He does not want to support. No, I'm just kidding.
I love my used games, and I think that small businesses like GameStop, small indies out there like GameStop, should be supported. No, I go to there's one of my buddies who used to be a manager for a GameStop, works at a local store, and I've actually got quite a few local used game stores in my Sacramento area that I love to go to visit them, say hi. They're chill. Go support those local shops, please. I joke about GameStop because I like to poke fun.
Let's see. I want to go ahead and transition towards our listener questions here. Reminder: if you're enjoying the show, please share, click like, subscribe, drop a review. It makes a difference, especially as YouTube's algorithm changes. We'd be appreciative. I am working on interviews now again, which means I'm lining them back up. It's interview season again, but I took a break genuinely, so there might be a few weeks where we just don't know interviews. But currently working on talking to the Star Trek Resurgence team. I've been playing Star Trek Resurgence, but I stopped playing it despite it being a really good Star Trek game, Logan. Like it's a really good narrative Telltale style game. However, next gen era, which is really nice, especially coming after Picard 3.
Picard. I love that Picard guy. He's pretty cool.
He's crazy.
He's a good guy.
I stopped playing it because there is no way to invert the Y-axis camera.
You're weird.
Which is very frustrating for someone who plays inverted because we're better than you. But
it's what you gotta tell yourself. That's fine.
Clearly showcases it's a smaller team that was working on it, but I'm super stoked to talk to them because they have some pretty great vets there. But that's something I am working on for review impressions for you guys. And then we're also reviewing another game that's coming out very soon, which we'll talk about soon. Probably next week. We'll talk about it next week. Yeah, we can talk about it next week.
Can we? Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Embargo's up next week.
Yep. And I'm excited to talk about that. I also have thoughts. Unrelated. I really need advice on a fight stick to get. All right. Let's go to a listener. You didn't even break. That's not fair. Let's go to a listener question. This one comes from Trickster. He says, what's one game you would like to see it more of at Xbox's showcase? Myself, I would like to see Hellblade 2. That's a great choice, Trickster. Hellblade 2, absolutely. If it's coming this year or in quarter 1 or 2 of 2024, we need to see that game. And I think that is Xbox's best shot at a system seller, apart from Grounded and Starfield.
It's hard for me to. I love the idea of Everwild, but nothing about it has really made me feel like I know what I'd get into. So I'm very curious about Everwild too. Hellblade hasn't sucked me in. I had a good time with what I played in the first one, but then I got distracted and I never went and finished it. But I recognize how beautiful and interesting that game is. Honestly, I feel like it's a toss up between Everwild, Contraband, and Avowed. But I also feel like I don't know. There's so many, man. I actually want to know what Fable is about too. Like, I'll tell you what. I'll go with Fable because I trust Playground Games, and I think Fable is one of those ones that I just missed out on.
Mm-hmm.
And because I remember working at a GameStop when Fable came out, and they're like, "You can be light or dark. It doesn't matter. You can do your choices matter. You're going to be evil and whatnot." And I'm like, Mass Effect, like I'm like that's upset. But I'm curious what Fable is going to do in the hands of Playground Games because so often I think like there's like questions that come out to like podcasters are like, if you could have one studio make one IP, what would that be? And everyone's always got like their answers and stuff like that. But this is one of the few times where I think I've actually seen like, like Playground is making Fable. This is like those questions. It's like, if you could have one studio make an IP that they normally wouldn't make, like this is it. So I actually want to know what they do because I think they're a really good developer.
I only want to know if it's ready, if it's close, and Xbox cannot afford for these big, heavy-hitting games to be less than 9s right now. They just can't. And like their target is 8 and above. They do not want anything lower than an 8. And truth, apart from Redfall, they haven't dropped something lower than an 8. I felt like Legends was pretty solid. You have Age of Empires, Cyber Rush, Pentiment. Like I feel like those are all 8s, great games in their own right.
Yeah.
Redfall is not.
But they aren't the big games that I think a lot of people look for. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not pillars. And so their pillars, they need to be great. And so don't show it if you don't got it. That is my thing. Like I don't want to see another Avowed teaser. I don't want to see another Perfect Dark teaser unless you've got pillar games ready to go. Like you can have a teaser if you've got the other pillars. That's my thought.
Yeah. The one more thing should be the teaser.
Yes.
The and that was what I think Nintendo did really well on, and then just dropped the ball with Metroid Prime 4. They're like, oh, and by the way, Metroid Prime 4, and we were like, yeah, we can't wait, it's gonna be amazing. And then like 5 years goes by and they're like, still no Metroid Prime 4. No, I think the teaser trailer is best served when it is the one more thing that Apple used to do. The two things that I want with the showcase, please, and I have no control over it. It's completely a want. Gameplay, like straight up gameplay, like just show me what the game is going to play like, and dates. Those are like the two things I care about with this Xbox showcase. Everything else could be whatever. But if you're okay showing me gameplay and I feel confident that that's going to be what I get to play because it's at the level where it's just about ready, like we're in the final stages, that you have a solid date, then I have no problem sitting through an hour and a half showcase. And that's why I'm hoping for the Starfield showcase, because I think that's where we're going to get. They've already shown UI. They've already shown gameplay. We know what the date is. They had to push it. All of that was ready to go at that time. Now I just want to see what the last year of polish has been.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's a good point.
That's pretty much, that's what I hope for.
No, it's worthwhile to hope for. Shoot. Edward Varnell writes in, he wants to know if Microsoft's presentation will be worrisome if its focus is on 2024 and not 2023. Do you see Bethesda showing being the show to rejuvenate gamers or the nail in the coffin for their popularity? Well, Bethesda's popularity is not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere, bud. You had Deathloop, you had Ghostwire, you had Redfall, then you have Starfield, all next to a very healthy Elder Scrolls Online. And like in that list, the only misfire was Redfall.
Yeah.
So Bethesda's popularity is not going down at all. That you'll see inflammatory tweets, but sales, you're fine. I don't, especially with that year of polish that he's talking about. Will the presentation be worrisome if it's focused on 2024, not 2023? I don't think so, but your point is well taken. I think in 2023 you've had Redfall, Hi-Fi Rush, Age of Empires, and then you'll have Forza Motorsport and Starfield. And that's a good list of games, save Redfall, right? Like
Yeah.
everyone's vibing on the Redfall downfall or like badness there, but that's not actually the story. Like the Redfall is the one bad game next to a bunch of good ones. So if Starfield's disappointing, then you have a bad year. But Forza Motorsport, Starfield, Age of Empires, and Hi-Fi Rush are all standing strong in this year, it looks like. So I don't think it's a worrisome, but you do need to show why you should buy your box. Maybe do a better job of showcasing that stuff. And we need something. What's happening Q1 2024, right? And what are you going to show us that's going to tease what you'll then see at Game Awards? Because Xbox is now at a point where their cycle has to be one pillar per quarter. And they need to do a better job of making sure Redfall doesn't happen again. But the reality is Xbox's releases are fine. It's just that Redfall has marred the mind share of their first party. That's all. That's my thought.
I think we're still waiting for that one big Q quarter game every year. Like I think we're pretty solid with Motorsport and Starfield being the first party releases for 2023. I think that's what we're gonna like. Sony's got Final Fantasy 16 at the end of June. They've got Spider-Man in September, which I think is going to be like in the 16th or something like that. Whatever the teens, whatever that Friday is, that's probably when Spider-Man's going to land. Mm-hmm. If I had to put out there those vibes. So I think like for PlayStation, as far as first party goes, or exclusive technically, I know Square Enix technically isn't first party, but they might as well be. Just put a ring on it. All right. Just like get them to figure out like what actual expectations for game sales are, because their games do decent. Yeah. I think with Sony, we already know what their exclusives are. And I think for Xbox, we already know what our exclusives are. I think the question is what are some of the games that we haven't seen or heard about that are third party that are going to be coming out for the rest of this year if Starfield and Forza aren't your bag? And I think that's what folks are hoping for. I think because we're not going to get another Call of Duty. I think we would have heard rumblings of a new Call of Duty coming out this year.
Did you notice COD was not at PlayStation's showcase?
Yeah.
That was interesting as a kind of a hidden
I don't think they're doing anything this year. I think they're taking this year off, aren't they?
But not even spotlighting like DMC expansion. They're doing stuff in multiplayer.
That's true. Warzone, they are. There is stuff. There is stuff like there's a new season out and stuff like that. But yeah, interesting that Sony didn't get those deals because they were getting pretty heavy. Didn't Xbox have Modern Warfare 2 though?
I don't think so. I don't know that.
I'll have to check that. I can't remember who had the deal for that. Yeah. But yeah, I think to Edward's question, I would like to know what the first party content look like is going to be for the first 3 months of 2024. I don't care beyond that because that's like a year from now. So just give me a good showcase that tells me what's coming to Game Pass that's third party for the next 6 months. So from like June to December, let me know what I'm getting on Game Pass. And give me a better idea on what Starfield is, and I'll figure out whether or not that's going to be something I'm going to dive into, or if Spider-Man's going to be the thing I dive into first. So we'll have to kind of see. But I don't think this it's worrisome for Bethesda. I think Starfield's going to hit no matter what, and if it doesn't hit like the way people want it to, there's still going to be the modders out there that are going to go nuts when that game comes out.
I'll also say that for the Xbox Bethesda showcase, they invited content creators to LA. And they just did a whole nother wave of them. Bummer, we weren't included in that one, which is kind of a bummer, but we have some friends that are going. And in that, there is a showcase for them after, just them, not, it'll be with, they'll be talking to Xbox leadership and stuff. And we have friends in our community that are going, which is really cool. And hopefully next year XEP gets on the radar just enough to be there. But I'm excited to find out what they see as far as Xbox's future to include Bethesda, because it's happening after the showcase. So like, that's cool, right?
Yeah.
For sure. I will say, seriously, 559 wrote in with an absurd question about Double Downs, and I just can't even get there. He offered to sponsor us if we eat Double Downs on air, and I just, sponsor's not enough. Double Downs are gross, and it's a shame that we as a community are perpetuating that people should buy them.
Luke is willing to turn money down from his fans, knowing he needs a second monitor.
Oh, Jesus.
Because he's so concerned about whether or not this Double Down thing takes off, and he has to figure out how to Photoshop images of the Double Down that's legally distinct enough that he can sell merchandise.
I told you, when we get to 10 tier 3s, that's when I'll eat a Double Down, but I'm not doing it before that. Like, ugh.
See, the problem is, folks, is that by the time that happens, they may not offer the Double Downs, so we really got to hit that goal soon.
When we get close to it, I'm gonna be like, when 15 is what I've been saying this whole time. All right.
Let me just put in the Discord as a reminder. By the way, we got to get to 10 tier 3s.
They're already supportive. I don't want to do that to them. All right.
No, I'm just saying, like, they're going to help hold us accountable, or hold you accountable.
Nah, that's fine. They don't do that. All right. Guys, look forward to all the content coming out on XCP on all your podcast platforms of choice. Please be willing to go to the YouTube version, click subscribe, share that out onto your personal socials. It really does help our show grow. If you're willing to drop a tip in the tip jar, patreon.com/Xbox expansion pass. No Double Downs required. But I do so want to thank our patrons and Discord members. You guys make my week better every week. Even when I'm not able to chat as much, I'm reading it and it makes me feel good. So that's what I want to spotlight. Logan, let them know where they can find you, good sir. And if you got anything going on with Keelhauled.
Community episode this weekend, and then I've got an interview with a Sea of Thieves dev coming out the week after. Nice. So if you're interested in finding out more about Sea of Thieves, I'm covering the mystery. You can go back and listen to the first 2 weeks. We are completely stumped right now for the third week of the mystery. They have not released a cipher or anything discernible with the stuff that they've put out. So the community is stumped. But if you're interested in that, you want to find out more about Pirates, Sea of Thieves, the community around it, head over to your podcast search icon, click in there, type in Keelhauled podcast, or just Sea of Thieves. You'll find me on Sea of Thieves as well, too. Otherwise, you can find me over on Twitter at CAPT_LOGUN, where you can discuss this and more. Otherwise, you'll be able to find me in the Xbox Expansion Pass Discord, chatting with our patrons about keeping Luke honest about those Double Downs.
Nope. All right, guys, that's it for us. Have a great rest of your week. Take care.